the greatest world science fiction books, The Gods Themselves, written by Isaac Asimov. Book 2, The Gods Themselves. On the parallel universe side, interesting stories are also happening. Unlike the natural laws of our universe, in this universe, a family, which is called Triad, consists of 3 members. 1 lefts, also called rationals, 1 mids, also called emotionals, 1 rights, also called parentals. All 3 genders are also determined by their own body structure. Dua is a mids, the emotional. In this universe, she should have been like the rest of the emotional, simple and romantic. No need to think too much about things, she only need to feed on the surface, in full sunlight during the day, then return home before sunset, and acting as a medium of sexual intercourse, also known as melting in a triad consisting of lefts and rights, or providing the energy needed for reproduction. This is exactly what her duty is. But Dua is different from an early age. She has shown some traits that were different from other emotionals. For example, she did not understand why her parentals had to pass away soon after she was born. Or she prefers to go to the surface in the quiet of the night to take in energy, although the sun is not abundant every time. She is interested in everything. She was told it is a very shameful thing to merge her body into the rock, but she still couldn't resist the impulse to do so. The reason for doing so are either primal curiosity or rational thinking. But she is clearly an emotional. How can an emotional have the curiosity and thinking that only rational has? Until she was a little older enough to go to school, she realized that only the rational has the gift of curiosity and thinking. They are logical and scientific. In school, rationals continue learning to accumulate knowledge in their major, prepared to make their own contribution to the scientific development of this civilization in the future. Auden is an outstanding rational. His teacher, called Rostin, is the hard one. That's a different kind of life form, with a very different body structure from the ordinary people, called the soft one. The hard one, very knowledgeable and omniscient, is the leader of this civilization. As long as Auden is interested in things, he can get the answer from the hard one. Except for one thing, which is about the special body structure of the hard one. Auden has always been very curious. The hard one is thicker and more solid. Their density is far greater than that of the soft one, but they never organized a triad like the soft one or conduct melting. So how did the hard one come to this world? Will they pass away like the soft one? Rostin did not give a direct answer, but he told Auden the number of the soft one and the hard one was indeed much less than before. The reason for this is the decay of energy. The cooling of the sun makes it more and more difficult to breed new life. The young Auden was instantly attracted by the question. He thoughtfully blurted out, "If our universe is dying, what about other universes?" Rostin was surprised. He didn't expect this kid to be able to ask such a genius question. With the growth of time, Auden's knowledge increased day by day, until one day he met a parental unit named Trit. Auden was impressed by Trit's steadfastness and bravery. In fact, all the parental are like this. Without the romance of the emotional, without the wisdom of the rational. Their ideas are simple and practical. That's start a triad and multiplying life and raising offspring. Auden and Trit decide to group a triad. That's when they need an emotional. So they went straight to the hard one cave to get help from Rustin. Looking at the shy Auden and the assertive Trit, soon Rusty brought an emotional. That person who came was Dua, so the smartest rational, Auden, the most different emotional, Dua, the bravest parental, Trit, grouped a triad, and started their lives. They had their first melt. Their bodies began to fade and dissipate into a cloud of mist which filled the room. Without hindrance, it's like entering a dream. Although they themselves felt it was a momentary thing, but in fact, their melt lasted for several days. After the melt, Dua then left in a hurry, and it was the same every time for the following days. Dua always liked to leave alone, which made Trit very annoyed and even angry. He could only complain to Auden, although Dua is charming, but not a competent emotional. Although Auden feels the same way, but not as obvious as Trit. On the contrary, he often advised Trit to just let Dua go. What exactly is melting? Dua has been thinking about this. she can also get a moment of pleasure. When merged the body into a stone or a wall or something, he had asked Trit and Auden face to face. Auden reluctantly explained with his immature knowledge to Dua. The process of melt is actually the process of nurturing life. In the process, the rational provides seeds, the emotional provides energy, and the parental, of course, provides the nurturing. Although the explanation is a bit simple, Dua is very happy. The kind of happy that you wait for a long time and finally get the answer. Auden is also very puzzled by Dua's inquisitive character. Dua looks like no emotional. She is simply irrational in the guise of an emotional. And actually, Dua also does have a nickname, Left Emo, and then later they have a child. A little rational and a little parental. Since then, Trit devoted himself to raising children. Auden continues to do scientific research, Dua continues to say go for the emotional. It is normal to often go to the surface to absorb sunlight to obtain energy. Adequate energy is fundamental to guarantee the next generation. But what made Trit angry is Dua only gained energy half full every time she came back or only went out at night, and didn't take giving birth to the next generation seriously at all. In this regard, Auden also advised her to gain more energy so as to ensure the birth of the last child, a little emotional, which is something every triad must do. Only after giving birth to the 3 children, one rational, one emotional, and one parental, they can pass away smoothly. This is what Dua doesn't understand the most. Why pass away? She doesn't want to pass away. So she'd rather not have enough to feed every day, so that little emotional can't be born. Does this mean she will never pass away? Dua also made Auden very distressed. So Auden found his teacher Rostin and told him his problem. Rostin told Auden, Trit will feel good about bringing up his kids. You will also feel satisfied that you have learned countless knowledge in your life. How about Dua? What did she gain? Your Dua is so different. She will think like the rational how she should live. And why did her pass away? As he once said, she likes to think. Then why not obey her? What can be wrong if teaching her some knowledge? If it makes her feel that her life is worthwhile, will she not be so afraid of passing away? Then she will naturally not refuse to give birth to the little emotional, the 3rd child. Auden suddenly came to a realization. For the moment, he felt that the teacher is simply their best leader. But the teacher immediately reminded him, he is not a leader. The real leader is Estwald. Trit saw that other people's triad had already given birth to 3 children, but his own triad hadn't. So he decided to find the smartest hard one. Estwald mentioned by Auden for the best solution. Although none of them had ever seen how Estwald looked like, but it is said that he is studying some kind of the electric pump. Trit doesn't care what it was, it sounds awesome anyway. Unfortunately, Estwald wasn't there. But luckily, as he was about to leave, he stumbled upon something delicious. Far more delicious than anything he'd eaten before. A bold idea came to his mind. In fact, at this time, Dua had already sensed Trit is in the Hard One cave, and also sensed the uncontrollable ecstasy in his heart. Never mind, she could not care about Trit at this moment, because while she was doing her best to merge into the wall, suddenly she found a very wonderful experience, which occasionally she had the same experience when merged into the stone as a child, but it's a world of difference compared to this time. Her mind became sharper than ever. Comprehension ability has also improved dramatically. She didn't get too hung up on the reason behind this, because Auden once said, when total melt, the density of atoms in the body would be much higher than usual. Rationals could absorb the essence from it, thereby improving their thinking ability. And at this moment, Dua is merging into the wall, so the atomic density will also exceed the usual, therefore only herself can be benefited. After a long time, Dua returned home satisfied. After her comprehension ability greatly improved, she threw out a very deep question directly. That's about other universes. She knew that the Hard One were developing electronic pump to get energy through other universes, so she wants to know all about it. Auden told her that everything in the world is made up of particles, and the combination of particles together depends on the action of various forces, the strongest of which is called the nuclear force. Since nuclear force in our universe is stronger, the distances between particles are smaller. And actually, the distances between particles in our body structure are larger, so we can merge into each other. But the hard one can't. That's because in their body structure, the distance between the particles is close to the theoretical minimum distance. In another universe, since the nuclear force is weak there, the theoretical minimum distance required between particles is larger. As a result, it is not easy for the objects there to merge into each other. So can we see another universe? Dua asked. No, we can't see, but according to the laws of nature, we can deduce its basic appearance. For example, the stars there must be much bigger than ours. Otherwise, there would not be enough matter for fusion, not to mention give off light and heat. By the same reason, the stars in our universe are much smaller than theirs. Otherwise, it will explode immediately due to the dramatic fusion. In fact, Dua did not fully understand, but she was already very happy to get a logical answer. Dua felt a little hungry. The food Trit prepared today seems to be much tastier than usual. So, an indescribable feeling slowly developed in her mind. Auden and Trit sensed it right away. They had the most successful melt of their lives. Trit was very happy. He thinks his actions are working. Auden and Dua are also happy, still talking about electronic pump and parallel universes every day, until Dua learned from Auden the hard one not only built the electronic pump, but also by marking the replacement matter, they are aware of the other party also established the pump, and this electronic pump has obvious side effects. The force of the two universes will move towards each other's balance point. The natural laws of the other universe can weaken the nuclear force here, hereby attenuating the fusion process of the sun and cooling it down, although it was about to die. Then also affected by the natural laws of the universe here, the sun in their universe will explode due to the acceleration of fusion. Once the sun explodes there, the energy density will be greatly increased. At that time, there is no need to replace the matter at a fixed location. The pump can absorb a little bit from anywhere, which is enough for a long time. Dua was a little anxious. We can't be so selfish. So she argued with Auden. At this time, several Hard One made a surprise visit. They had asked who had been to the Hard One's cave in the past few days. Trit timidly admitted and confessed that he also stole a food ball, to let Dua add a little energy. This will give birth to an emotional. Moreover, he has indeed achieved his goal these days and successfully conceived a little emotional. The Hard One warned Trit, this food ball is still in the testing, it's very dangerous. Fortunately, there were no serious consequences, and apparently Trit didn't mean any harm either, simply out of instinct of a parental. Dua listened to their exchange, subjectively thinking that all this was a trap set by Auden and Trit for herself. She rushed out of the house angrily and never came back. Afterwards, Trit gave birth to the little emotional he longed for, and he wanted nothing else to be satisfied. At this time, Dua's subjective emotions had been occupied by anger. On the one hand, she was more and more convinced that she was being deceived. On the other hand, she was now more and more suspicious that Estwald, who invented the electronic pump, was also a man who would do anything for his target, immorally destroy another civilization for the survival of one's own civilization. They are all so selfish and self-serving, the soft one and the hard one. The melt and pass away are all lies to deceive people. There's actually only one kind of creature in this world, the hard one, and the soft one are just robots made by the hard one, at the stage of civilization's decay. Gather 3 children first, then educated by rational, and finally die together. They cycle through these robots to satisfy the hard one's spiritual needs. Now they have electronic pump with a source of energy. The day when they themselves can regenerate new life is when these soft ones will be abandoned. One day, Hard One Roston suddenly came to the house and told Auden Dua must be found immediately, because she is destroying the pump. Dua merged herself into the wall and lurked in the Hard One cave waiting for an opportunity. She hadn't been on the ground to soak up the sun for a long time. Long time hiding in the cave made her weak and terribly upset. The only belief that supports her insistence is to stop the electric pump. At first, she couldn't read the symbols marked on the replacement matter at all. As she merged into the wall for more time, her thinking became more and more sharp. She tried her best to feel the meaning of these symbols. Finally, selected 4 characters that best represented her feelings at the moment, FEER, and sent them to another universe. She received the reply and waited patiently to find further information that reflected her emotions from all the characters in the reply. Finally, she found that the pump was bad, so she magnified it many times, which made the fear stronger, and firmly sent it to the other party. Firmly believed that the other party can definitely feel the meaning and will stop the pump without hesitation. But the electronic pump still did not stop. Did the other party not sense the warning? No, she's going to try to issue a final warning, using more intelligible symbols, with stronger despair. The pump, no stop, we won't stop the pump. You stop, please stop pump. We do not stop you to stop the pump. Dangerous, stop. Stop the pump, you stop. She has done everything she can. In the end, all that is left to her is to slowly pass away. Soon after, here comes Auden, so does Trit. The hard one is here too. The strong sensing prompted them to run all the way to Dua and seize the time to carefully replenish the energy for Dua, whose life is on the edge. Dua slowly recovered. When her mood calmed down a little, Auden told Dua, after several days of hard thinking, he finally woke up. You're right. The hard one is indeed the only kind of life in this universe. But that doesn't mean the soft one is a robot. They're just a juvenile form of the hard one. Each melt of the soft one forms a hard one. However, due to the immaturity of the body and consciousness, the form of the hard one cannot be maintained for long. Until they grow up slowly, give birth to 3 children, the evolution of the body will not be completed, while the evolution of the consciousness requires the awakening of the rational. Only after the rational rely only on his own knowledge and ability to achieve the awakening, he can then guide emotionals and parentals into a perfect melt for the last time, never to be separated again to become the hard one. And Rostin is a blend of Dua's parents. Dua's parental father is part of Rostin. Listening to Auden's words, Dua was dubious. Trit also tried to remind her to feel with her heart. Whether she had vaguely recalled some fragments that used to be the hard one. What Dua was thinking was that she believed that they could make up one of the hard one, a hard one who could rival Estwald. A faint light began to glow in the cave, and the bodies of the 3 slowly began to fade away. Dua felt that the electronic pump was still running. Why hasn't it stopped? She wanted to shout. But the melt had already begun. Despair or not, resist or not, up to this point, everything stops. There is no more Auden in the world, no more Trit, and no more Dua. Estwald stepped forward, glancing at the hard one gathered around, and said sadly, "From now on, I will be with you forever. Let's go, there's still a lot to do." It seems that Estwald does not intend to stop the electronic pump. Maybe all life in the face of survival, those so-called moral ethics are just on paper. So how should human beings deal with the huge disaster that the electronic pump is about to bring about them?